Welcome back. It's preview Saturday's Premier League clash between Sunderland and West Ham United at Stadium of Light. Pascal, starting with the visitors, flying high at the moment.
Yeah, they are. It's 3 wins in a row, and last time out was particularly impressive against Swansea, because obviously Swansea in the top half with them, it was a game that both sides would have thought, yeah, we can get a win out of this. And West Ham, they started the game quite well. It was sort of a quite even start, and then they were going forward, and Swansea, took the lead against the run of play. Wilfred Bonney, he's in great form at the moment, but West Ham did really well to fight back. They're obviously led by Andy Carroll. He sort of inspired them in that game. It was never nothing too innovative that he did. It was just 2 headers, but he offers you that. He's so good in the air, 2 great headers back across goal, and he set up the other one with a perfect flick on. He seemed to know exactly where Sakho was. And talking about Sakho, he came back from injury there because obviously he had that amazing scoring run when the first few months of the season. Then he'd been out injured for the last month. He came back, scored a goal. Those two, is that going to be the new strike partnership? That'll be a bit harsh on it in Valencia because him and Sakho were a great partnership at the start of the season. But all 3 of them can't start, and they're all in great form. And it's a real selection headache for Allardyce, but it's a good one to have.
Yeah, like you say, you mentioned the players going forward, but I think throughout the side, West Ham, Allardyce will be so pleased with the players that have come in. Cresswell, obviously at Ipswich, you were a big fan of him. You are a big fan of him. He's been great. Jenkinson down the other side. I think he might actually be injured for this game, which would be a big doubt because he put the cross in, didn't he, for Carroll? But the fullbacks like to get forward. They're both quick. They both can defend. People in midfield as well. I think Song coming in was a big one. I don't think many people predicted that West Ham would sign Kouyate as well. There's no disrespect to people like Nolan, who is in the side at the moment, but with those 2 in there, if you're in opposition, you're looking at Song and Kouyate and Downing, who's in good form, and you look throughout the side. I don't think it's much surprise that West Ham are doing better because they've got a lot better players than they had last season, and they can do really well.
Yeah, they're all performing probably to their best of their ability, and that's where you have to give credit to Allardyce. He's doing really well, and that people wanted them to play nicer football. They've had the odd game where they play nicer football, but sometimes they have reverted to where they're strong. Like when you're playing Andy Carroll, why not put crosses into him? People might look at it and frown upon the way they scored those goals, headers, but when you've got a brilliant header of the ball like Carroll, why not utilise it? And their ambitions now, they're 4th in the table now. They're up to 3rd briefly, but they were never going to finish there because whatever Southampton and Man U did, they were always going to drop down. But 4th in the table is such an impressive achievement. And you look at their fixtures coming up. I think 3 of the next 4 games after this one are at home, and they have home games against Leicester and West Brom and Arsenal. I mean, the Leicester and West Brom ones, they're 2 games. They'll definitely start as favourites. And you wonder how well can they do this season. We were talking about Southampton. How well can they do? But West Ham, I think they'll be looking at maybe a surprise European, top 6-7 finish.
That's for certain. We're coming into this game against Sunderland. It's one of those games. Sunderland have been good this season, haven't they? In fairness, they've not won enough games, but they're not in the bottom 3, which is important at this stage of the season for confidence. Last time out against Liverpool, picked up a good point, restricted Liverpool to very few chances in that game. Might have nicked it. Wickham had a few little chances. I think he wanted a penalty. That wasn't a penalty in the first half, but had a few moments. They draw too many games though. But in fairness, they've had a tough week, haven't they? They played City, Chelsea, and Liverpool, and only lost one of those games at Chelsea, which was, that's no. To lose there, a lot of teams have done that this season. So in this particular game, they'll be coming in and just hoping to get the 3 points rather than a point.
Yeah, you mentioned their recent form, but they haven't scored enough goals, have they? They are drawing a lot of games. Just about keeping them above the bottom 3. But 3 of their last 4 games have been goalless draws. And although you praise the defence, Wes Brown, John O'Shea, Virginie, he's been really good as well. Defence is doing well. They're not doing enough going forward. You touched on Connor Wickham there. He's sort of impressing a bit, but he's been rewarded with a new contract until 2019 this week. And he's a great young player, big physical presence, and good technically as well. But they need to start scoring more goals. Whether it's one of the strikers really, catching fire. Altidore started against Liverpool. Stephen Fletcher always has his problems with injuries. You need more goals from midfield. Adam Johnson hasn't had a great season. So even though they've been solid at the back and some impressive clean sheets, they've got to do more going forward.
So you're backing them to pick up all 3 points this weekend?
Well, you mentioned their draws recently. I think this has got draw written all over it because Sunderland, they've done well recently to get a point. So I think it's going to be 1-1.
1-1. I just got a feeling for West Ham. I think they're in such good form. I mean, if you just said to Sam Allardyce after 15 games of the season, you'd be 6 points off second off last season's champions. He'd have absolutely bitten your hand off for that. So I've just got a feeling they're in such good form at the minute. They offer something different now, don't they, West Ham? So I think they're going to nick it 2-1. We'll see a West Ham win and a score draw. Thanks for joining us.